The Internal Revenue Service is a very large government agency. It processes an enormous number of tax returns every single year. We are talking about more than 240 million tax returns. This is a monumental undertaking for any single organization. Annually, the IRS collects a truly staggering amount of money. This sum totals over $3.5 trillion in revenue for the government. This revenue is absolutely essential for funding our public services. Grasping this immense scale is crucial for understanding the current debate. Former President Donald Trump has put forward a very bold proposal. He suggests a plan to completely abolish the Internal Revenue Service. This idea has quite naturally sparked a great deal of intense debate. It has also generated considerable public discussion across the entire nation. The core of the plan involves replacing the current income tax system. He proposes using alternative methods for collecting taxes from citizens. The stated aim is to simplify the way taxes are gathered. Such a dramatic and sweeping change makes this a very hot topic. The IRS is frequently the subject of public criticism and complaint. One of the most significant issues is the sheer complexity of the tax code. Many ordinary taxpayers find the rules incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to understand. Filing annual tax returns can often feel like navigating a dense and confusing maze. This inherent complexity often leads to unintentional errors and causes significant stress. Consequently, many people feel they must hire professional tax preparers for assistance. This, of course, adds an extra financial burden on individuals and also on businesses. The system's intricate nature is a long-standing complaint from many Americans. Taxpayer frustration with the IRS is widespread and often deeply felt. This is not a new problem, it has been steadily building for many years. Calls for substantial reform of the tax system have grown much louder over time. Many people argue that the current system is simply outdated for modern times. They feel it places an overly heavy burden on the average citizen. Dissatisfaction is a very common sentiment expressed by countless taxpayers. The process can feel inefficient, slow, and at times quite unfair. This challenging environment naturally fuels the growing desire for radical changes. Mr. Trump's proposed plan is centered on a truly fundamental shift in policy. He proposes the complete and total elimination of federal income taxes. This would include both personal income taxes paid by individuals. It also includes corporate income taxes paid by businesses of all sizes. Such a move would represent a massive and historic change in U.S. tax policy. The income tax has been a central pillar of federal revenue for over a century. Removing it would necessitate finding an entirely new way to fund the government. The basic idea is to move away from taxing people's earnings directly. So, the big question is how the government would replace this lost revenue. The main proposal from Mr. Trump involves using tariffs on imported goods. These are essentially taxes that are levied on products coming into the United States. The underlying idea is to shift the primary tax burden onto foreign producers. Mr. Trump has even floated potential new names for the agency handling this. It might be called the External Revenue Service, or ERS for short. Alternatively, an external revenue agency has also been mentioned in discussions. This new body would be funded mainly by these new import tariffs. The United States imports a truly vast quantity of goods every single year. The total value of these imports is somewhere around $3 trillion annually. However, it is important to note that current income taxes generate about $2 trillion. This significant difference means that any replacement tariffs would need to be very high. Initial estimates from economists suggest that these tariffs might need to be at least 100%. Some economists like Torsten Slok from Apollo Global Management believe the rate could be higher. He suggests tariffs might need to reach as high as 200% to be effective. This is because very high tariffs could also reduce the demand for imports. Another alternative for replacing income tax is a national sales tax. This idea is not directly from Mr. Trump, but it aligns with abolishing the IRS. The Fair Tax Act of 2025 is one prominent example of such a proposal. This bill was introduced in Congress by Representative Earl Buddy Carter. It suggests replacing the current income tax with a new national sales tax. The proposed rate for this sales tax would be 23%. This system would potentially start in the year 2027 if passed. Effectively, this would mean a 30% federal sales tax on every dollar spent on goods and services. One of the most significant arguments for abolishing the IRS is simplification. The current U.S. tax code is notoriously complex and incredibly lengthy. A new system, perhaps like a national sales tax or tariffs, could be much simpler. Taxpayers might find it far easier to understand their tax obligations. This could substantially reduce the time and effort spent on tax preparation. The ultimate dream for many is a system where filing is straightforward. Perhaps tax filing might even become unnecessary for most people. This promise of simplicity appeals greatly to those tired of complex tax forms. It is a very powerful selling point for such a drastic, sweeping change. Reducing taxpayer frustration is another key potential benefit often cited. The compliance costs for both individuals and businesses could dramatically fall. If tariffs become the main method of taxation, it might incentivize domestic production. American companies could find themselves more competitive against imported goods. There is also the argument about shifting the overall tax burden. Instead of taxing income directly, the system would primarily tax consumption. Some people believe this is a fairer way to collect necessary government revenue. It could also be perceived by some as reducing government overreach into personal earnings. These points form a core part of the for argument. However, there are also very significant arguments against these bold plans. A major concern revolves around the potential impact on consumer prices. High tariffs imposed on imported goods would very likely raise their cost. Similarly, a national sales tax would make almost everything more expensive to buy. These resulting price increases could disproportionately affect lower-income households. Families operating on tighter budgets would inevitably feel the financial pinch more acutely. Essential goods like food and clothing could become significantly less affordable for many people. This potentially regressive impact is a serious and valid point of contention for critics. Critics also raise serious questions about whether these new systems can generate enough revenue. Tariffs or a national sales tax might not fully replace current income tax collections. This could lead to larger federal deficits and critical funding shortfalls for public services. Very high tariffs might also reduce the volume of imports so much that revenue drops. The transition period itself could cause considerable market volatility and economic instability. There are genuine risks of triggering a recession and significant job losses during such upheaval. Dismantling the IRS without a perfect, well-crafted replacement could also increase public distrust in government. Mr. Trump's plan to abolish the IRS is undeniably an ambitious proposal. Replacing the entire income tax system with tariffs or a national sales tax is bold. It is also one of the most controversial fiscal proposals in recent memory. The idea certainly captures widespread attention due to its radical and transformative nature. It promises a complete and fundamental overhaul of how America funds its government. Such a far-reaching plan naturally invites intense scrutiny and passionate debate from all sides. The sheer scale of the proposed change is truly immense. It would directly touch every taxpayer and every single part of the U.S. economy. While the goal of achieving tax simplification is appealing to many Americans, the specific proposals face substantial criticism regarding their actual feasibility and practicality. Many economic experts express strong doubts that the alternative systems can truly work as envisioned. There are very serious and widespread concerns about potential revenue shortfalls. Negative economic impacts are also a significant worry for numerous economists and analysts. Higher consumer prices are a frequently cited potential consequence of such a shift. The considerable uncertainty surrounding future revenue generation remains a major sticking point in discussions. The path to any new system is fraught with complex economic challenges. The potential impact on overall government revenue simply cannot be overstated. If the new tax system fails to collect enough money, public services will suffer. Federal programs, which many rely on, depend on consistent and adequate funding. This includes everything from national defense to important social safety nets. A significant and sustained drop in revenue could lead to painful budget cuts. It could also mean a substantial increase in the already large national debt. Ensuring fiscal stability is absolutely paramount during any major tax reform effort. The consequences of getting such a fundamental change wrong could be extremely severe for the country. This bold plan forces all of us to think deeply about the future. What does the future of taxation in the U.S. actually look like? Are radical, sweeping changes like this truly necessary at this time? Or are more incremental, carefully considered reforms a better path forward? The implications of abolishing the IRS are profound for absolutely everyone. It affects individual taxpayers, small and large businesses, and the government itself. It is very important for citizens to consider these proposals carefully. What are your personal thoughts on this vision for America's tax system? The ongoing discussion about tax reform will surely continue to evolve in the coming years.